have the distinct honor and privilege of celebrating a group of remarkable men and women who have dedicated more than 60 years of faithful service, love, and commitment to the building of our church, Christ the King.
When they were basically weeding the yard and getting the place totally ready, I was part of that group of little boys who were weeding the yard for Christ the King. I was confirmed here. I was baptized at Holy Innocents in Ragged Island. And again, the sermon today, many of us don't recognize the role that God plays.
They came from various islands, each with a unique story, but one shared purpose. Drawn together by faith, their spiritual journey led them to Christ the King.
My own, you can put it where you want it to, but it's my service to God, my service to the people here in this parish. I've helped a lot of people, I've done things for people, and once they come to me, I'm here for them. I just love this parish because my life was influenced. As a young boy growing up in Long Island, St. Paul's, Clarence-Town, Long Island. And then when I came into Christ the King, my life was influenced by Archdeacon, the late Archdeacon Barnaby, Sammy Storp, J. Kenneth Storp, and they had a great influence on my life. And the people on the whole that I was able to help, to share, and to grow up with the young people, and they inspire me as well. I just love it, a wonderful time. Commitment and service.
Thank you.
You know, he just took my word. Service was what I was about to say. And also, I serve around the altar, but another word what I like to put out there is ministry. Being able to minister to the people of this community. Not just the congregation, but people outside of the walls of this church. Ministry is so important, and we have so many wonderful ministries here at Christ the King. The youth ministry, the usher ministry, the ACM, the ACW, the prayer ministry. We have so many ministries that persons can be a part of, and I just love being a part of my ministry here at the church.
Well, going back to Bennett again, it's a good service. As a little boy around 8 or 9, I really thought that I was going to die because I read a story in Reader's Digest and a little boy died. And when I examined myself, I thought that was going to be my end. And I made a promise, so I bargained with God. I said, Lord, if you spare my life, I will serve you all of my life. And everything I do, and that's why a lot of people don't like me, and they say it's not because of the government, it's not because of the administrators, it's not because of the head of the department, it's because you're doing something for the least. And you don't have to put on a show, because as long as I'm here, I know that God still has me covered. And Christ the King has been one of those channels where your service to God, to be a servant of God, you can express that. And without equivocation or any doubt or anything, right, I will serve God as long as He's given me life.
Joy. J-O-Y. Jesus,
Thank you very much.
others, yourself last. So it's service. Well, I would think that should be the easy part of it, because our commitment shouldn't be to the church, but to the good Lord. And but having started here and playing that integral role, in my humble opinion, from way back then, when we would have taken that march, I was a child. I was along with my grandmother, Marion Smith, who was also one of the honorees, thank God, and along with my mother. I can't remember if my Uncle Vincent was with us, but we made that journey, had a good time, danced to the music and so on, and then we were here for the laying of the cornerstone 60 years ago. And for the next, from 65 to 75, I actually served on the altar as an altar boy, and pretty much served under literally every priest. Not necessarily those that would have come significantly afterwards, but when they would have visited and were guests at the church, obviously would have served in the choir during that time. And then I went off to university in 1975. But every time I came back home, I presented myself to Christ the King. And one of our other honorees, as you know, Mr. Bennett Menace, he and I were very, very instrumental in the development of the youth movement. I think we had the AYA and the CYM, and so we were very much involved in all of those for many, many years. And then, of course, the last thing I would say, of course, is that upon returning I first lived out west, and I was always criticized. I shouldn't say criticized, but people always ask the question, you go to Christ the King? You live all the way out west? I go, that's my church. I go to Christ the King, and I drive past 4 Anglican churches. He subsequently moved out east, and we drive past a different 4 to get to Christ the King. But so as they would say, to God be the glory, this is my home, and this is where my spiritual family is, and this is where I come and continue to come.
Let me say, I am from the island, an island that is predominantly Anglican, Long Island. Born and baptized, grew up in Anglican Church in Clarencetown, Long Island, St. Paul's. And then when I moved into Nassau, with my family that I used to live with, I to worship at St. Barnabas, where I served an altar there for a while as well. And then a friend of mine told me, he said, why don't you come to Christ King? This was in the early 70s. And I said, okay. And when I came into Christ the King, the very first Sunday, I was very welcomed by a lot of people, Vinton Bain and Dr. Brown and all the others. And so I just stayed here. And I got involved from the very first day. And they told me about the youth group and everything. And Kingsley Knowles, Archdeacon Kingsley Knowles, the Reckleys and Rose, they got involved with the young people. As a matter of fact, he used to be secretary and when I was president of the Young People Association and everything around it. And we were instrumental in putting the first constitution together. You remember that, all of that? Many nights we spent around in the parish. So at St. Barnabas, and then I moved into Stapleton Gardens after a while, and then
across from an Anglican church.
yes, as a matter of fact, right now I live right across the road from Holy Trinity. Some of y'all went to Ragged Island too. I didn't go to Ragged Island. Okay. But we did a lot of that. Then Grand Bahama, we traveled to Grand Bahama. We put on some plays and everything down there in Grand Bahama. We had the youth synod that we used to have every year for the Anglican diocese, and we played a big role in that. And I just give my service to God. I just love Christ the King.
Mr. Minnis said, you know, I'm attracted to the people here at Christ the King and helping to see them grow. Okay? I remember, it takes me way back now. I'm the youngest of the honorees. And I look up to all of the honorees and I take a look at that. This is so surreal to think, wow, these are the people who I looked up to. And being the youngest person, I'm very honored and privileged and humbled by being honored here at our 60th anniversary. I'm only 45 years old, so I haven't been around from the time when the folks here say they marched from St. Barnabas down to here. But my mom brought me to church, you know. Archdeacon Murillo Barnaby convinced her to start coming to Christ the King since we lived in the Yellow Elder area. Well, they lived, because I didn't come around until the 80s, okay? And, you know, I sat in church with her, and I was wondering, who ringing the bells? Who ringing the bells, you know? And whoa, look at the incense going past me like that down the aisle. And that's what I knew I wanted to do. And from that point on, my spirituality, my Christian formation was here right at Christ the King. And, you know, growing up, I just wanted to do more. I wanted to be around the other persons my age, and they were serving around the altar. We have such a vibrant youth ministry that persons like Mr. Minnis and Father Robles who helped to bring up. I remember my youth leader was our rector's wife, Shelly, okay, at the time Pearson, okay. So I always wanted to leave home and come to church. The only way I'd be able to get out of house in Yellow Elder was to say, I want to go to church, I go to church. So I was able to go, put on my clothes and come to church. If there was something or not, I wanted to be at church, okay? And, you know, I have wonderful people who were here around me. I have wonderful leaders who blew me up. Mr. Minnis, he was my bus driver when I was growing up, you know. I remember, God rest her soul, Miss Marion Smith singing in the choir. I remember everybody in that honorary list, plus all the other people who are still part of this parish. And, you know, the Vivian Wallies, the Theodore Quint, Catechist, Warren Rowe, God rest their souls. All these people helped to grow me up and helped to form me spiritually here. And I couldn't see myself leaving here, no matter if I go live out life again. If I live in hours, I try to find a way to come back on Sundays. So I just love this parish. It's where I grew up. I couldn't see myself anywhere. And I thank my mom, my family, for helping to grow me up spiritually here at church.
As Bennett said, I grew up on Ragged Island, and I had certain experience on Ragged Island. My grand-aunt, she used to play the organ, just like you see Mary Jane. My grand-aunt used to play the organ, and she taught me to play the piano on the organ. I used to play the organ for Sunday school in Holy Innocents on Ragged Island. In the morning and in the evening, I was the organist for Sunday school. Now when I came down here, things got a little bit off. But, so from the time we moved down here, that's 1963, when Christ the King came, we used to walk from Ethel Street to Christ the King. And as Carmen said, when they were basically weeding the yard and getting the place totally ready, I was part of that group of little boys who were weeding the yard for Christ the King. I was confirmed here. I was baptized at Holy Innocents in Ragged Island. And again, the sermon today, many of us don't recognize the role that God plays in our lives. I love the message of Jesus. Don't show off with what you're doing. So I will not put on a show, but in terms of ensuring that that foundation is there, whatever I can do to help that there, then I will do that. To make sure that that foundation, as again in Matthew, the wise man built his house on the rock. See? So set that foundation in such a way that it's unshakable, even when the flood rises. And again, as Cornwell mentioned, I used to live in Kennedy. We used to live in Ethel Street. Then I moved to Kennedy South. Then I moved out east, and I passed about 6. I went to church the same way. And they asked me the same questions, right? Epiphany, St. Anne's, St. Matthew's, Holy Cross, somebody else in there, right? But I came to Christ the King from 1963 when it started, my father's house, my grandfather's house. When I moved to Nassau in 1968 to go to high school, I was confirmed here under Father Barnaby, right, and Bishop Eldon. And I have never, and I can tell you, Father Samuel Stirrup and Ranfleet Brown, they were impressive people. And like I say, I don't put on a show, but in terms of making sure that that understructure, that foundation is solid, I think that expresses your real belief in what the church is supposed to be. So, yes, Christ the King, over the last 60 years plus in my life, has demonstrated some assets, some influences that is phenomenal. And to a certain extent, I feel a little bit guilty because I serve God as a surgeon. And Tehran can tell you I wanted to serve on the altar. But I knew that as a surgeon you're going to be called for road traffic, for gunshot, for stab wounds, for appendix and all that. So in the middle of everything, you're going to be dragged away because somebody's life is there. So I could not do what I really wanted to do. But Christ the King is my church.
I started my journey there at age 18 after graduating from Nice Phoebe Moxie's music school. I went right into playing at the Holy Innocents Church Sunday School and service, along with many of us, okay? And we played there for a while. Now, when I was relocated here, so, and I can't remember the date, but I was relocated to Nassau. I am right now today, many years, and I'm an assistant organist also at this church, and I am in charge of the music ministry. Okay? I enjoy, this is my passion. The choir is my passion, and I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it up to this day, and I thank God for everything that He has allowed me to do.
And I congratulate you all for your service, your commitment to the service of ministry at Christ the King. What is that one thing that stands out that has encouraged you or inspired you over the years to stay committed in ministry and service?
Well, for me, my belief is if I am a leader, or if I'm given a task to do, I do so to the very best of my ability, as long as the Lord gives me health and strength to do it. It's just, to me, I feel just someone that I feel like I'm supposed to serve.
I was born to serve the Lord. Started, just like I say, way back in my hometown. And everywhere I go, I think I must do my best to serve the Lord.
Ladies, any last word?
I hail from the island of Mangrove Key in Andros,
Right.
where I was born and christened at All Saints Anglican Church. So when my parents, when we came to Nassau to live, I already had this church in me, the Anglican
Right.
Church. So previously we attended St. Barnabas Church. And when it was time to pass, I moved in the south. I thought that Christ the King, was closer, and this is where I choose to be. But I give God all the glory. I thank Him for allowing me to live this long. I thank God for life, as I normally say, and whenever there's an opportunity for me if I'm asked to do anything around church, I do it gladly, So I thank God.
Also among these remarkable men and women were Felton Colley, who played a key role in establishing both the physical and spiritual foundation of the church, supporting its growth through dedicated service. Connie Bethel's quiet determination and steadfast faith have consistently supported the church's growth. Her reliable presence has been a strong pillar of support for the church. Equally dedicated was Marion Smith, now deceased, who spearheaded countless fundraising efforts that helped to bring the church to life. A dedicated member of Christ the King, she invested her time and energy in service to her church and faith. Today we honor her memory. We also honor the lasting contributions of Miriam Brister, Berthel Pratt, whose dedication and services extended beyond the walls of Christ the King. Berthel to Port Howe, Cat Island, O thou faithful servant. Marjorie Thompson, our prayer warrior, Charles and Louise Williams, each of whom left a legacy of faith, service, and devotion that will continue to inspire generations.
These persons were stapled in the church. They were some of the pioneers, persons who really labored and who were a part of the initial grouping of persons who came into this Vigilant Park West area. And so again, we are thankful to them, and we wish to acknowledge their contributions over the years.
The history of this parish will always be engraved in this mural, and anyone who passes by will have to remember that this is where the greatness of Christ the King truly has been thus far.
You can see the historical picturesque.
Yes.
And that is what's powerful about it. But Christ the King knows exactly how to do it. God bless you all.
Yes.
As we close this time of reflections, we want to take a moment to express our deep gratitude to all of you for sharing your heart, your experiences, and your wisdom with us today.